Hey everyone, welcome to the final 2024 episode of Live with Normal. I'm J.M. Padini. I'm the Development Director for the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws. It is Friday, December 20th, 2024. It's the last show for the year. Don't worry, we'll be back in 2025. But for now, make sure you hit that like, follow, or subscribe button wherever you're watching so you never miss when Normal goes live. Thanks to everyone who just joined us on Instagram. I can see all of you over there. Drop a note in the comments. Let me know where you're watching from. Hey, Nick, in snowy eastern Pennsylvania. There's not a flake to be seen here in Virginia. Let's see who's over on Instagram. Hey, OGCB, happy holidays to you as well. Thanks for dropping by. Hey, Redemption, happy holidays to you. Nestavaldi, happy Friday. Hey, Shine Dark Music in Houston, thanks for watching. I'm just going to say lady. Hey, lady. Hey. Thanks for joining. Hey, Love is the Journey in Pulaski. Hey, Richard in Brandermill. So close. Hey, lady, I see you were in Christiansburg. All right. I love it. Hey, Diablo in West Side. West Side what? West Side Richmond? West Side of Manhattan? Hey everyone. All right. Let's get into some news. But also, I want to know what your questions are. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to answer your burning questions about cannabis policy. So drop those in the chat. Redemption, Canna, in Lansing, Michigan. Great. Hey, Leah in Southside, Central Texas. Samuel. Hey. Good to see you. Richard, you got a new plant called Dirt Woman's Forbidden Fruit. That's a mouthful. How's North Carolina today, Samuel? Great. Still the land of prohibition. Heard. All right, let's talk about some news. We have a lot of news to talk about today. First, it's cold there. I believe it. It's cold here too. It's 47, so it's not that cold. All right, let's talk about the state news first. Some good news out of New Mexico. New Mexico's largest county voted to end pre-employment drug testing for most public employees. This was a vote by the county commissioners, and Bernalillo County. It's about 672,000 residents, so a really large county, the largest in New Mexico population-wise, and they voted unanimously to revise their drug and alcohol-free workplace policy to remove cannabis, quote, when used legally, off-duty, for medical or recreational purposes. They removed that definition, removed that from its definition of illegal drugs, and as a result of this, most public employees will no longer be subject to either pre-employment or random workplace testing for cannabis in Bernalillo County, New Mexico. Good job. Aaron, it's 19 degrees where you are. That sounds a little brisk. Just a little brisk. Love is the Journey on Instagram has a question. Sorry, StreamYard doesn't let me show Instagram questions, but I will read it to you. Love is the Journey asks this question, or says this: nervous about the future administration undoing current cannabis policy to the point I'm considering moving back to Oregon. Any thoughts? So, Love, if we can be on a first name basis, do you mean the incoming Trump administration, or are you nervous about what could happen in Virginia? Tell me more. Instagram has a little bit of a delay from the rest of you. So my thoughts just generally, it doesn't matter if you're necessarily in Oregon or in Virginia, both states have legalized adult use. But as to whether or not they're, as it applies to Virginia, okay, yeah. So in either state, that's going to require state legislative action. There aren't the votes to do that in either. So you're okay as far as that here. Now, President-elect Trump has indicated that he supports states' rights when it comes to cannabis. He said he had planned to vote yes on Florida's legalization ballot measure this last election cycle. So I don't know, but I don't know what we're going to see. None of us know what we're going to see out of this administration. You may recall the first time he was in office, he appointed Jeff Sessions as Attorney General, and Sessions immediately rescinded the Cole memo, which had been in effect for some time and is what provided sort of a guidance document that said that directed the feds to take a largely hands-off approach in states that were already regulating cannabis, as long as they were doing a good job at it. And it was effective and it worked. And then Trump appointed an AG that rescinded the memo. So what's going to happen? I literally don't think any of us know, but remember, it's going to take action at the state level, and there aren't the votes for that. Cannabis Connoisseur, thank you for your comments about the dates. It was just a big old fat typo, and my colleague and I had a call immediately after the show to talk about that, and wherein I went and corrected that typo. And it's actually someone's birthday, so then it made it even funnier that we were getting the day wrong on whatever. Anyhow, thank you. You were correct. It was just a typo. And now we have a new rule that I will double check anytime someone writes a date. I'm going to check and make sure that's the actual date, not just believe them. And yes, to your point, Cannabis Connoisseur says, I believe they are putting regarding the marijuana rescheduling hearings by the DEA. He says, I believe they are putting the FDA on the stand. The DEA gave them a subpoena through the ALJ. So yes, I mean, we're of the same belief as well. All right. Leah Patrick, New Mexico is getting it done, right? This is a great job. Aaron, you're in South Dakota. Aaron's in South Dakota and says, it's brisk here. Cannabis laws and weather. Love what you do. Thank you for all your work. Thank you, Aaron, for joining us today. I appreciate that. Nick, tell me more. So Nick says this, also looking like Pennsylvania will be the first state store system for adult use. Boo. Will it? Is that actually going to happen? We'll see. Hi, Ellie. Good to see you, friend. Chronic Bro, I see your comment about what Love was asking, and it doesn't seem like the question was about the Farm Bill, but as it pertains to hemp, but could we see the federal language around hemp catch up to what states are doing? We could. Just have to hang out and find out. 151 in Texas. Hey, good to see you. Good to see you. Thanks to everyone else who just joined us on Instagram. There's a bunch of you all at once. Yeah, Cannabis Connoisseur is asking the state store system. I suspect that there's been a proposal in Pennsylvania to, do a state store model like some states like Virginia do for liquor. Other states have tried this before, and it's been struck down as not feasible by courts because of marijuana's Schedule I substance and requiring state employees to essentially break federal law seems weird. Anyhow, good luck with that, Pennsylvania. Like a gas station, like a liquor store. Like a liquor store. Back to the news. Let's talk about what went down in West Virginia, which is not as good as what just went down in New Mexico. So this, I'm going to open this and read a little bit more of it because I think there were two rulings on this. So in West Virginia, the Supreme Court just ruled that judges may prohibit people who are on probation in that state from using medical cannabis, despite the fact that medical cannabis is legal in West Virginia. They say that they say the court determines that the West Virginia Cannabis Act, this was passed in 2016, quote, does not supersede or prevent a circuit court from requiring a probationer to refrain from using marijuana as a condition of his or her release on probation, even when the probationer has qualified as a patient, they put in quotes, and obtained an identification card pursuant to the Cannabis Act, end quote. And that's because state law mandates that a, quote, probationer may not, during the term of his or her probation, violate any criminal law of this or any other state or of the United States. And since marijuana is still classified federally as Schedule I, that makes it, that would make it a violation of that federal law. Whatever. This court ruling does contrast with decisions rendered in many other states, though, including Pennsylvania and Michigan, which rejected arguments on those that those on probation can be restricted from accessing medical cannabis. Last year, Maine lawmakers enacted legislation limiting the ability of courts to order those on probation, parole, or pretrial release to refrain from the use of cannabis. So that's what happened in West Virginia. We don't have, we've not addressed that in Virginia other than typically the judge or the probation officer has discretion. Ellie, I like your comment. Ellie says, we have a friend from Germany visiting us. I was trying to explain to him how cannabis can be legal in Virginia, but you're unable to buy or sell it unless you're a medical patient. And he simply said, you Americans are an enigma. That is kind. You're right, it is. It is kind, Ellie. Ooh. Aaron says in South Dakota you can use a medical card on probation. Thank you for letting me know. Yes, cannabis connoisseur. Apparently, Pennsylvania does think a dispensary is like a liquor store. So, are liquor stores state liquor stores in Pennsylvania? Anyone want to answer that for me? Nick, how is that? Nick says the state in Pennsylvania, the proposed state store system is just something for politicians to be comfortable with for safety. Doesn't Pennsylvania already regulate medical cannabis? Does does your state have a problem with medical cannabis regulation? Is your state not proud of the way it regulates medical cannabis? Does your state not think that they do a good job at regulating medical cannabis? I'm confused because that's what I talk about every time a lawmaker in Virginia acts like we've got to reinvent the wheel to regulate retail for adult use. Well, no, we don't. We already do that here. Well, what about these other states? We're not those other states. We have our own regulatory model here. It's mind blowing. I guess that means, Nick, that then medical cannabis would be one regulatory structure, and then adult use cannabis would be an entirely different regulatory structure. They must really like bureaucracy in Pennsylvania. It's wild. Richard is commenting on Instagram about all of the busts and robberies going on and how scary they are in Virginia, in particular, Richmond. There's been a few, yeah, like maybe don't sell drugs illegally in a brick and mortar. I mean, in a brick and mortar store, and then you won't get busted. I'm just gonna put that out there. Like, make good choices. Some people did not make good choices. And then we all had to all watch it on social media. Yeah, a lot of fear mongering insulin. Yeah, a lot of fear mongering, obviously. Okay, we did West Virginia and New Mexico. Well, let's pop in it. Let's pop in a little quick ad here. A quick ad real quick for something we're doing here at Normal. We do a survey every year because we want to know what your cannabis policy priorities are. So do you want to, you could tell me now, or you could take the survey. That'd probably be more helpful. And if you take the survey before midnight on December 31st, I had to remember what the last day was. If you take it before midnight, before the new year, you know what I mean, before the ball drops in the Eastern time zone, you'll be entered to win a $100 Normal Store gift card. Yeah, you can find that right on the front page of the Normal website. There's sliders at the top. You'll find it right there. But take that survey. Let us know what you think. It's completely confidential, by the way. The only person who sees these answers is me, and then I just crunch the numbers. So we don't ever, Normal never discloses any of our subscriber information. We don't sell our list. We don't do any of that. But please take the survey. It'll help shape our focus here at Normal. All right. Let's talk about, let's find a good news. Okay, there is this conservative leaning think tank called the Manhattan Institute. Man, that was funny. Okay, so the Manhattan Institute does this poll. They're a conservative leaning think tank. And so then you wonder, okay, well, if the conservative leaning organization does a poll, is it going to be skewed? Turns out it's not. Turns out, in fact, that according to this poll, and consistent with literally all other polling, the overwhelming majority of Americans say that marijuana ought to be legal for either medical or adult use. This is nationwide polling data that was compiled by the Manhattan Institute. So you can read about that also on the front page of NORML. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, you're going to get that link. The link will be there for you. It looks like Twitter is not taking our links anymore, and then Instagram, I'm sorry, it doesn't it doesn't do it either. Who's surprised by those poll results? Right? Insulin says think tank, aka buy the results I want. That was really interesting about this. It seems to, since it does line up with more traditional polling, I have anything to say about it other than, yeah, that makes sense. All right, speaking of things you already knew, let me tell you about this federally funded survey on youth, specifically teen marijuana use. Marijuana use by teens is now at a near historic lows. It's at a historic low. Lows, plural, because it's for multiple age brackets of teens. And I'm going to read you what Paul has to say about this. Paul is NORML's deputy director. And Paul Armentano says that, quote, sensational claims that adult use legalization laws are linked with greater marijuana use by teens are simply not backed by reliable data. These findings ought to reassure lawmakers that cannabis access can be legally regulated in a manner that is safe, effective, and that does not inadvertently impact young people's habits. Hey, Nick, I bet someone in your state needs to see this. This again, it's a federally funded survey. It's the University of Michigan's annual Monitoring the Future report. This is something that we've seen many years now. The percentage of, and this is over the past year, for 8th graders, over the past year cannabis use, because they ask past year cannabis use, past month cannabis use. So for past year cannabis use, 8th graders fell 38%, 10th graders fell 42%, and 12th graders fell 26%. And then for past month cannabis use, 8th graders declined 34%, 10th graders declined 43%, and 12th graders declined 34%. Nora Volkow, who is the director of NIDA, the National Institute on Drug Abuse, she described the overall decline in substance use by young people as unprecedented, quote, unprecedented. This puts cannabis use by young people at a 30-year low. So anyone who is actually serious about adopting policies that prevent youth access, youth use, unpermitted youth use. We're not talking about medical cannabis here, but preventing cannabis use by young people. Anyone who's serious about that, like we are at NORML, should be celebrating these numbers. And this isn't spin. This is reading comprehension. This is looking at the numbers and reading it and saying, just like the director of NIDA has done, yes, this is a 30-year low. This is remarkable, and no amount of spin changes that. You can guess who I'm talking about. Yeah, Insulin says parents have made cannabis use not cool. This is also a group of students who experienced the pandemic, and we know that use declined significantly during the pandemic, and I think that a lot of that is playing into these these results. Hey, Mike in Anaheim. B. Hendricks, are you talking about Nora? Oh, sorry, I had to scroll up. I see. You said most people realize that Mary Jane was never a problem. Got it. She lost a bit of her mystique when recreational bulldozed into town. Got it. I think that is a very astute statement. Melissa says perhaps when you are not lying to your kids about cannabis, they realize it isn't some big thing to do anymore. I think the same thing can be said about the public at large. Remember, Reefer Madness was all spun up when you got your information from the newspaper. You couldn't just go look it up. You couldn't find out for yourself. Either you knew from personal experience, or you just read what was in the newspaper. Internet's pretty free now. Hey, David. Welcome back on Instagram. I see you. David says a lot of home growers in Virginia would like to be able to sell at farmers markets and such. I'm sure they would. There's zero path for that under the current administration. 1,000,000% zero. Will there be a path for that at some point in the future? Maybe. But it won't be absent regulatory oversight. I can assure you that it would still be required to undergo third-party analytical laboratory testing. All right. Let's see. I gotta get some good ones in here. I can't just give you all a bunch of bad news. Ugh. Okay, we'll do we have one not so nifty story and then one better story. So I'll do the ick one first. B. Hendricks, I think she probably is bulldozing around. Insulin, is this a Virginia specific question, or is this another? Sorry that I ask you this all the time. Where are you? The question is, are we able to do free trade markets, like local grower meetups where everyone just swaps for variety? Yes and no. You can have people over, you can have other adult, you're in Nova, thank you. In Northern Virginia, if you have some public event where you do that, no, you can't do it in public. You also can't charge people. I'm going to tell you what you can and can't do by code, not what people do and get away with, right? These are two different things. Is it legally permissible to have a public event where you do this? No, not at all. Not at all. Not according to code. Could you just do it at someone's house where you just have other friends who are 21 or older over? And then, yes, if you are at your home, at someone's home, everyone's 21, then adults 21 and older can exchange with each other up to 1 ounce of marijuana in Virginia, as long as there is no remuneration. So you can't exchange it for goods or services. You can just give it to someone. You can say, here is 1 ounce of marijuana. Thank you. Good day. That is legally permissible. But if it's come to this event and do it, that's not. You can keep tossing that into the convo, David. I appreciate your comments. They're not lost on me. We just need to get through the remainder of this administration and elect a better one so that we can do literally anything. And then David goes on to say, I never thought I'd be growing 4 plants. You're welcome, David. You're welcome. It was almost 2, but I changed that number on the spreadsheet. let's talk about the ick story. Okay, so I like this. I think this has some relevance in Virginia because we have tried 2 years now to legislate around what is an actual issue. And this analysis indicates that, yeah, it is an issue. So researchers at the University of Michigan assessed records from over 35,000 births. And what they found is that Black newborns are disproportionately tested for drugs. I know, shocking that there's racial bias in healthcare. Um, the findings that they came to are consistent with prior data. They also found that these newborns are no more likely to suffer from neglect. Researchers go on to write this. Newborns with a test positive for THC were not more likely to experience maltreatment. And they say that, to our knowledge, this is the first study to link individual hospital birth records, including newborn drug tests and results, with subsequent CPS investigations and records of substantiated maltreatment. So they looked at the Child Protective Services records as well, and then researchers concluded no individual person, family, or institution benefits from racially biased testing or unnecessary CPS investigations. These practices have no impact on child safety, but they represent a clear racial disparity and unnecessarily contribute to racial disproportionality in child welfare. The evidence strongly supports a policy to end routine CPS investigations for cannabis exposure and eliminate racially biased drug testing practices, end quote. Separate data published by researchers at Harvard Medical School similarly determined that those selected to undergo marijuana-specific drug screening during labor and delivery are disproportionately Black or Hispanic. Those researchers concluded that toxicology testing of patients for a sole indication of cannabis use without other risk factors may be of limited utility in elucidating other substance use and may exacerbate existing disparities in perinatal outcomes. And there's even another study in Journal of the American Medical Association that looked at the same thing. So, let me share the story. You can read all of these stories either on the front page of the NORML website at norml.org or in the news section. You can get to that right there at the top where it says news, but you could just get them in your inbox. NORML News of the Week comes out every Thursday at 4:20 p.m. Eastern because we think we're funny. And the NORML Weekend Weed Read comes out every Saturday at about 9 a.m. Eastern. So you should subscribe. Just head to norml.org/subscribe or find the little subscribe box right at the top of the website. Put your information, check the Weekend Weed Read box so you don't ever miss the issue of that, and get this delivered to you. David, thank you for the kind words. I'm glad that you joined us and I'm able to share this information with people because I think it's a lot easier to engage in this work at whatever level someone's comfortable if you know how the work's actually done. We really want to demystify the lawmaking process for people. All right, we did it. Oh, I have a good one. I have one news left for you. And it's a good one. But it's also the one where you go, yeah, I know. To be fair, there's been a lot of those this week where you're like, yeah, I know. But this one is yeah, of course. This story is about clinical trials. A lot of them, not just one, but a whole lot. So researchers at University of Virginia reviewed data from 14 randomized clinical trials involving over 600 patients. Clinical trials, 600 patients. Got it? 10 of these trials assessed the use of either botanical cannabis or Sativex, which is an oral mucosal spray that has plant-derived cannabinoids in it. Sativex is available in the rest of the world, not in the United States by prescription, though. Epidiolex is sort of the later sister drug of Sativex. Sativex has THC and CBD, whereas Epidiolex just has CBD, but they're both made by the same company. And they're plant-derived cannabinoids in there. Anyhow, they looked at these 14 randomized clinical trials, and they were looking at the impact of cannabinoids on neuropathy, peripheral neuropathy. That's like numbness and tingling in your extremities, mostly in the hands and feet. People experience this from diabetes. They experience this from chemotherapy and a host of other reasons, but those are two of the most common ones. And this is what the researchers say. They say of the included studies, 79% showed improvement in neuropathic pain following treatment with a cannabinoid. And they go on to say improvements in secondary outcomes such as sleep quality, anxiety, sensory testing, and quality of life were also noted in several studies consistent with prior literature. Most reported side effects are mild and well tolerated. They go on to conclude, overall, the data demonstrate that cannabis-based medicines are a potentially effective emerging drug class in the treatment of peripheral neuropathy via reducing neuropathic pain and related symptoms. I'm sure that anyone who has experienced neuropathy and used medical cannabis can attest to its efficacy. You know, in the comments. Oh, here we go. There's the story. I do not, look, that's going to be a great question for someone here who grows that. Hey, Carl, welcome. Sativa girl. I can't with that. I love your jokes. I'm just going to read them quietly to myself. Hey, Brady, welcome back. You almost missed it. I'm glad I've gotten your question. Sativa girl asks if spider mites should be deported. Yes, they should all be deported. Let's make that a priority. Spider mite eradication. Very bad for the economy. Yes, very bad. I'm dying. Better blood flow. Insulin. I'm thinking about what you said about neuropathy, your comment in reference to neuropathy. Insulin says, I feel like cannabis needs to be better studied for blood flow. I've been diabetic for 26 years. So I'm sure you are perfectly aware of this already. But there is a section in clinical applications for cannabis and cannabinoids, review of the recent scientific literature. There is a whole section on diabetes in here. And if I'd read the page, I'd know what page to turn to, but I didn't. Fortunately, it's in alphabetical order. There are a lot of indications, not only related to side effects like neuropathy or symptoms like neuropathy, but blood sugar as well. So that's pretty interesting. You can find the whole section on the NORML website in PDF form and web form. in the marijuana research library. Hey, Tony, I see your question. I'm going to answer it. I wish Lauren was here to talk more about it. Sativa Girl says, should RFK Jr. end all federal cannabis laws? No, he should sit down and focus on something else entirely. We don't need to hear what he thinks about that. Oh, hey, you're doing, Carl, I see you've been doing some stuff in Philly. Cool, cool, cool. Pennsylvania's going to be a hot topic in the next legislative session. Tony asks, what's the story with the Kentucky program, and says it seems like a joke. I don't think it does. I think that it seems entirely par for the course. It seems like this has been a real priority for Governor Beshear. He's made some really thoughtful comments about this. I think they've worked expeditiously to bring the program online. We have seen states drag their feet, not only in the rollout of medical, but in the rollout of adult use. I've watched a lot of the live streams for Kentucky, and nothing's really jumping out at me as weird. So I don't have a problem with it. Get your what? Your book? You could get your book autographed by the author, Paul Bratty. Yeah, that's what you can get. I probably have one signed by Paul. I don't know what insulin. I'm going to let you message me privately and tell you what that means. Hey, the DMV Dean. I see your question there on Instagram. It says the DMV Dean is asking, does NORML work with ABCA, which is the Alcoholic Beverage and Cannabis Authority? Is that, I think that's what ABCA, something like that. It's the DC regulator. Yes and no. Like, do they really care what we think? I don't think so. But we have worked directly with them, at least on reciprocity as it pertains to Virginia. That's what I can say. We've probably worked with them on other things as well. Let me know if you have a specific topic that you're interested in. Also, if you have an issue with them, and I encourage you to read the legal analysis that one of our recent NORML legal interns drafted. Where is it? Where do we go? Here we go. Ty Buffington wrote a great piece for us about what rescheduling might mean for the District of Columbia. You can find it on the front page of the NORML website. And I think that's really interesting because he concludes that rescheduling could have an outsized impact on the legal marijuana market in the nation's capital by actually allowing the district to finally regulate adult use retail. Hey, Woodyard. Do we want to endorse a retail dispensary? What do you mean? I mean, we don't really, we endorse, we support policy, legislative efforts, policies, things like that. Hey, Politico. I see your question. Oh, you got approved for a retail license. Amazing. That is fantastic. Congratulations. There are a number of ways that you could support NORML's work, and in doing so gives NORML the opportunity to say this dispensary is supporting our work. By supporting our work, it is supporting your customers. We think that, right, that's what should be happening. There's no industry without consumers. And if you're a business owner, showing your consumers that you're willing to stand with them and help protect their rights and fight for their freedom, that's meaningful. I think maybe your customers would like to know that you want to make sure that they're not losing their jobs or their kids or their housing for being legal cannabis consumers. Isn't it, Melissa? Melissa says it's a no-brainer. I don't know if it'll let me copy your email. It won't let me. The DMV dean just emailed me at advertise@norml.org. Say, hey, JM, and then that way no one else. I don't know who else would try to respond to it, but if you just email me, what's the point? Yeah, let's talk. Dear cannabis industry, that's how you do it. Hey, Dakota Labs. Thank you. Dakota Labs says, love your Instagram page and studies that you post and share. Appreciate it. Appreciate that. We were talking about neuropathy earlier. Insulin. There are a lot of studies that talk about the impact of cannabis on nerves. Just going to keep it general here. And the ability, not only regeneration, but I think that is likely what's contributing to the improvement in neuropathic pain. But you could also just read about it in this book. I have a literal stack of them in front of me. I was going to try to do this on TikTok also today, but I have to do it on a second device, and I didn't like the way it looked. I want to be able to look at the camera in the both spots, so I need to put another device, which is probably going to be my phone, up behind it. And then I'm going to try this in January, and then they're going to take TikTok away from us, and then I'm going to be so sad. Anyhow. Christopher Brady asks if I could address the cannabis industry as a whole, what would I say? I would say the same thing. You don't have an industry without consumers. What are you doing to protect them? What are you doing to keep them out of jail? How are you showing your consumers that you believe in their freedom and protecting their rights, protecting their families, making sure that their children aren't ripped out of their homes, that they're not fired, that they don't lose scholarships or housing, all based on the legal consumption of your products? What are you doing for your consumers? How do your consumers know that you are standing up for them? There's only one organization that does that. It's not only what I would say, it's what I do say. Happy holidays to you as well, Deschedule. Insulin, Melissa would like you to know that you should look into THCV. I don't know what that is. I'm trying to follow the comments and see what. Yes, yes. Isn't that weird? Okay, so B. Hendricks says homegrown cannabis for recreational use or sale remains illegal in Washington. Um, yeah, not every state allows personal cultivation, including states that have adult use, which is odd. Oh, I'm sorry, Politico. I think I started to answer your question and then got distracted. Shocking. Um, uh, what just happened again? Okay, so Politico 420 asks this: does NORML see any hope for the adult use bill filed by Texas State Rep Jessica Gonzalez? I mean, you know, Texas is gonna Texas. I hope the bill gets a hearing. That's what I would like to see. I would like to see Texas take this issue a little bit more seriously, but also Politico in Texas. Um, you have the legislature that you have, and it seems to me that a less precarious path, an easier row to hoe, if you will, would be improving the medical program. Do I think Texas is going to vote to legalize adult use before adding flower to its medical program? No, I don't. That's just me. I don't think that. But I think that that's the path you might want to explore. And Texas right now is improving your medical program. And the good thing about that is that you have businesses in Texas that are licensed to sell medical cannabis. So it's an easier fight to take on um, when you can be on the same side as people with money, right? We don't have to always be at odds with the cannabis industry. I am not at odds with the cannabis industry in Virginia. It doesn't mean that one day we won't be, but we're just not here. We all work together great. It's fine. It doesn't mean we all have the same priorities. It doesn't mean we all like the same things or think that the regulatory structure is fantastic. It just means we all work together just fine. And that's an okay place to be. I know it's super cool to like adopt this position. I don't think it's actually super cool, but people seem to think it's super cool to be like, I hate the industry. Like, okay, great. It's like tell me you don't do the work without telling me you don't do the work. Like you can hate them all you want, but if that's the people and you're working on the same issue and they have money and you're just like a little bit off from each other, like why are you gonna spend all your energy on that? Like just find what you do agree on and work together instead of trying to carry boulders up a mountain on your own. Anyhow, hey Chris, glad you're here. I see your question, Brady. Don't let me forget. um, Thank you for letting me know that bill was filed, though. While I'm not the political director, I'll pass it on. And Milton, thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that. No, we're not talking about that, but thanks so much for your weird question. You can just bye. Thanks. Hey, doctor. All right, we did it. We did all the things. I want to leave you with this this encouraging message as well. How do I want to get this on here? Listen, isn't progress is progress. We don't have to whine about everything. maybe you all are going to be having some holiday dinners this weekend or next week. I hear that's a thing. And maybe you're in a family where there's, mixed political affiliations, or it seems like there's nothing that you all can agree on. But guess what? There is something that the majority of American adults do agree on, and that's that it is, in fact, time to end the prohibition of marijuana. So I will tell you all that I think it would be a really fantastic opportunity for you to spark up a conversation, a cannabis conversation at your holiday table. And we do have some resources available for you on the NORML website. We have a nice little blog about this, and I just shared the link for you. Um, I I can't answer those questions that you're asking, person. So stop or keep asking, but I can't answer them. Merry Christmas to you, Samuel. Merry Christmas. Happy holiday. If someone wants to, Chris, that's great. You should. And I hope you can use some of our resources. And I don't think you'll need them, but you can. You can print out the nice picture of the pie that I used. What weird. Nick, is that just your personal walk, or is it a cousin walk? I had to explain to one of my colleagues what the cousin walk now is. Now that's funny because someone had to explain to me what it was also. But I don't know what that, Carl, it won't I can't click it. I don't know what the event is that you're trying to show me. I have only spoken in Pennsylvania in front of the legislature. I have spoken in Pennsylvania only in front of the legislature. I have to think about that for a minute. Yes, that is accurate. Politico 420 asks if NORML only operates in the United States. So the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws is a U.S. organization, but we do have chapters around the world. NORML France, for example, an amazing chapter. NORML Canada got legalization done. We have a chapter in South Africa. We probably have other chapters that I'm not at the top of my head right now, and I'm sorry, but yes, we do have affiliates in other areas of the world. I'm glad that, thank you for explaining, Melissa, what the cousin walk is to our friends in the comments. Yeah, I like my job. I'm not talking about that. That's all I can say. On nature's side, all politics aside. I love it. Any in Politico 420? No, we do not have any Latin American chapters. No chapters in South America. No. Some in Europe, South Africa, Canada. That's it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. We are open to one. And in fact, my colleague Ian Rasman, who is the executive director of Los Angeles NORML, he is doing some of that work for us. He is helping me with international chapters. So if you're not connected with Ian, we can make that happen. You can email me and I'll loop in Ian at chapters@normal.org. Thank you for letting me know. Insulin says, can vouch for Canada's rec setup. It is amazing. Melissa, your comments are hilarious. All right, friends. It's 5. That's it. That's it. We did it. We did a whole year of Live with Normal. Again, I think this is like the 4th year. I don't know how time works. When was the pandemic? I forgot. Maybe we started this in 2021. It must have been 2021 because that's when. Okay, so that is 4 years. We didn't know how. We used to do monthly events in person, and then we were like, oh no, what are we gonna do when we can't do anything? So then we just started this for funsies on Facebook, and now it's the whole thing. So thanks, everyone. Thanks for making this a whole thing. Thanks for joining me here every week. I love hanging out with you. ADHD grower, thank you for following us. I see that. No dabbing on the job. Who's dabbing? Oh, hi to you as well. Thank you. I want to tell, I'm going to put this up. Nick, thank you. I'm going to leave that up there while I talk about our upcoming events. Charlie, hi friend. Thank you. It's good to see you. Okay, here's some things coming up. On Sundays, I don't know if they're doing it this Sunday, but on Sundays, one of our Florida chapters, Suncoast Normal, does their own podcast. You can stream that on YouTube at Suncoast Normal. It's called The Rotation, and it's Sundays at 11 a.m. Eastern. Now, coming up in January, I have some big events to tell you about. 2 of them. First, let's talk about the Virginia Cannabis Conference. The 2025 Virginia Cannabis Conference is January 24th, 25th, and 26th here in Richmond. You can get full details at virginiacannabisconference.com. If you're on Instagram, there's a post for it on. I was going to say that, and I was like, I hope there is. Hold on. I think there's a post. It's telling me Virginia Normal's live. Thanks. I'm perfectly aware Virginia Normal's live. Oh no, I haven't put. What is wrong with me? Anyhow, I take back everything I said. VirginiaCannabisConference.com is the point. Listen, on the 24th, which is the Friday, there is a welcome reception, and you can pick up your badges early. Then the 25th is Saturday, and it's a full day of seminars, talks that you can pop into. And there's an expo hall as well. We feed you at this conference. And then that evening, Saturday evening, is the Commonwealth Green Gala. And that's pretty self-explanatory. It's a dinner. It's at the same. Everything's at the same hotel. And then Sunday is day 2 of the conference, and another full day of seminars. At the end of Sunday, we do the legislative review. So we do a deep dive into all of the cannabis-related legislation moving through the Virginia General Assembly. And we give you the what's real, what's going to really happen, and why some things are good and why some things are just nonsense. And then the 27th is that following Monday, January 27th, is Lobby Day. Lobby Day is free to attend, but we do want you to register in advance so that we can get appointments with your lawmakers for you. So please, we'd love to see you at the Virginia Cannabis Conference. We'd love to see you at the Commonwealth Green Gala. We'd love to see you at Lobby Day. You can sign up for all of those at virginiacannabisconference.com. And if you want to sponsor it, you can sign up for that there too as well. Thanks, Nick, for our message. Nick wishes everyone happy holidays and reminds you to be responsible. Insulin, thank you for my timeline correction there on COVID. Chris, I appreciate your comments. That's very nice of you to say. I appreciate that so much. Melissa, thanks for being here and for helping us and for joining the board. Or those were the events. That was it. That's all I got for you. One last thing. I will throw this in here. A lot of you might be thinking about year-end giving in preparation for tax season. Remember, if you want to make a tax-deductible donation to NORML, you can do that through the NORML Foundation. The NORML Foundation is a 501c3, whereas NORML is a 501c4 because we do lobbying. But our 501c3 organization, all donations are tax deductible to the full extent of the law. I just dropped a link in the chat for you as well. Hey, Dab the Devil's Delight from Fresno. Good to see you. Yes, so you can, if you're thinking about getting those tax deductible donations in before December 31st, please consider the NORML Foundation and know that your donations there help me keep producing content like this. So think about it. Oh, Melissa, thank you for your, thank you. Melissa suggests that you all register and get your tickets today for the Virginia Cannabis Conference. It would make a cool holiday gift too, and you can bring a friend. Way to sell it, Melissa. I love it. I love it. Okay, friends, this has been a blast. This whole 2024 has been a blast with you. Thank you so much for joining. I hope to see you all back here in 2025. Be sure you hit that like, follow, or subscribe button so you never miss when NORML goes live. I'm J.M. Padini, the Development Director for the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, and I hope that each and every one of you have a fantastic weekend and a wonderful holiday season, a happy new year, and I will see you right back here in 2025. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.